Don't endorse, support, or celebrate the violence caused by these Taliban rebels, but appreciate the principles that they seem to be fighting for. Don't praise the Taliban, but praise what good they do and condemn what evils they do. Seek, promote, and do what is good, true, and beautiful, and reject at all costs what is evil, false, and ugly. Seek righteousness, avoid unrighteousness at all costs, regardless of who's doing it, who's saying it, who's promoting it. If it's your people, if it's not your people, if it's in your tribe, if it's outside of your tribe, seek what's good, true, and beautiful, and avoid what's evil, false, and ugly, and pursue righteousness and avoid unrighteousness at all costs, regardless of the costs. The poppy fields and resulting global heroin trade was non-existent before we went into Afghanistan. The Taliban shut that down. So too was the pedophilia problem. When we ousted the Taliban from power in 2001, we brought back the poppy farms and also brought in the degeneracy. Now that seems to be going away again there. Seems to be going away again. Seems to be, at least. We'll see. We'll see what unfolds. Time will tell. And that should be celebrated for now. If that is the case, if that is really what's happening, that should be celebrating. Less heroin in the world, less degeneracy in the world. That's a good thing, regardless of who's causing it or making it happen. The men will be men in Afghanistan. The women will be women. The children will be protected. And there will be less heroin in the world because of this alleged insurrection. At least it seems that way. Even if they aren't following the Bible entirely or living spiritually connected lives with God through Christ, they seem to be seeking to live more biblically and righteously than so many so-called Christians here and elsewhere in the West. This whole ordeal is essentially a battle of local versus global. Bertaria. Onward to Bertaria. This whole ordeal is essentially a battle of local versus global. Community-based peoples can and will defeat armies of wickedness. Tribes that win are the tribes that build together, grow together, genuinely love one another, sacrifice for each other, and fight to the death for each other. Satan despises families, which is why he tries all he can to break them up, starting with the men. And the families that build together, grow together, support each other, and fight alongside each other are true threats to the beast system and to the forces of evil, which is why they seek to break up the family units, and which will break up the communities, which will break up Christianity. We, as in you listening to this, and myself, we, us, must return to thinking locally, not nationally or globally. We must start with ourselves, then our families, then our churches, then our communities, and after we have done that and continue to do that, we must only invest our time and energy into our state level. And we must reject the nation and the global. That's how they keep trapping us into accepting unrighteous living. The great deception of the screens has been to focus your time, energy, and spirit onto things that have little to nothing to do with your actual life. I'll read that again. The great deception of the screens has been to focus your time, your energy, and your spirit onto things that have little to nothing to do with your actual life. Your focus and attention becomes drama and events that are outside of your control and outside of your environment. We must return to investing in ourselves, in our families, and in our communities. We must return to local thinking and local living. We must return to tending to our own gardens and not wasting our lives focusing on other gardens. Have friends, families, and allies in other places. That's fine. visit them or trade with them if necessary. All that's good, to a certain extent, but make sure you're thinking and acting locally. That is true power. That is true security, and that is true righteousness. We are called to tend to our own gardens by God. It's one of the first commandments he gave us. Be fruitful, multiply, and tend to your garden. Work the land. And we must tend to our own gardens and let the rest tend to their own. We must fight for our own families and for our tribes, not nations or unions of states or standing armies. We must fight for our own families and our own tribes. Afghanistan is the example of what happens when you do so. It may take a while, but victory will be yours. The defeats will make you stronger. The losses will make you better. The comforts will weaken you. The victories will make you worse. There will be so many lies about what is happening over in Afghanistan, in the Middle East in general, going forward. I mean, you should know that by now. And a whole lot of fear-based mind control. A whole lot of fear-based mind control nonsense coming from our screens going forward. Brace for impact. If you are a Christian, a true God-fearing, Satan-fighting Christian, then you know all will be made well in time. And that this is all a part of God's plan, totally within his control. If you start hearing about Christian missionaries being persecuted or executed, just know that the information is being pushed in front of you to make you angry or scared. And that those people being supposedly persecuted or killed likely weren't Christians at all, but cheaters, liars, degenerates, and or hostile forces, pretending to be or calling themselves followers of Christ. True Christians over there, actual followers of Christ, will be protected for their genuine faith if dealing with actual practicing Muslims. And if they encounter satanic forces calling themselves Muslims and happen to encounter death as a result, then it would have been an honor for them to die proclaiming Jesus as Lord and Savior and seeking to spread his word to all of God's children, especially the fallen souls. True Christians embrace martyrdom and persecution. Jesus told us we will, and we should embrace that. Embrace martyrdom and persecution. True Christians don't run from physical threats and earthly losses. True Christians don't avoid discomfort, material losses, physical pains, or even death. Your Creator, your true Father in heaven, did not give you a spirit of fear or a spirit of anger. If fear, anger, or despair comes about from what is happening 10,000 miles away in Taliban-controlled lands or next door in your satanic global elite controlled lands, then you must reconsider your faith and truly return to the peace, the rest, the truth, and the love that comes from a spiritual connection to the Father through his Son. When you walk with God, things are not scary. Trust in God and things won't make you angry. Emotions and doubts are from Satan. They come from a lack of righteousness and a desire to avoid death and escape the consequences of sin. If you want peace in your right now and in your forever after, you must return to God and all his right ways. And all the schemes and plots of Satan and his armies of evil will either not bother you, or the persecutions will help get you to the true kingdom your soul belongs in. The place where you will hear the words, "Well done, my good and faithful servant," from the one who made you and loves you unconditionally and wants you to be with him in paradise. Death isn't the end. It is only the beginning. And you will see and know that when your soul truly returns to God with humility, obedience, trust, love, hope, loyalty, and faith. Place your soul into the hands of its creator and resist all of the wicked forces of this earth everywhere at all costs. The Taliban, which again apparently just means the students, which may or may not be some CIA operation or whatever conspiracies you want to throw at it. The Taliban are just, this Taliban takeover is just the latest examples of those who stood up to Satan and won, for now at least. And it's not just the Taliban, it's the Afghan people as a whole. They stood up to Satan, the great Satan, and they won, for now at least. It cost them a lot, it required sacrifice and bloodshed, and took an uncalculable amount of energy and years of time. But those who put their faith in good and resisted evil came out victorious again. Those who put their faith in good and resisted evil again came out victorious. Despite what your screens and movies and neighbors and media channels and government leaders tell you and want you to believe, when you resist evil, truly, with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might, you trust in God, regardless of the consequences, regardless of the cost to you and your physical life, you will come out victorious and you will enter into the kingdom that you belong in. If you stay with God, you will win. If you stay with God, you will win. Remember that one man with God is the majority at all times. And in conclusion here, if your enemy is the great Satan, then you are definitely crushing. You are definitely based and you are definitely crushing.